High atop a jagged cliff overlooking a vast, verdant valley, an eagle named Arion had his nest. The view from his perch was breathtaking, with the rolling hills and lush forests stretching out as far as the eye could see. This cliff had been home to his family for generations. The nest was a complex structure of twigs and branches, woven together with the care and precision that only eagles possess. Arion was a magnificent bird, with feathers that shone in varying shades of brown and gold, catching the light of the sun as he soared through the sky. His eyes were sharp and keen, capable of spotting prey from great distances. He was a strong and proud eagle, respected by many in the valley. However, despite his prowess and the majestic lineage of eagles from which he hailed, Arion harbored a secret fear, an aversion to those different from himself. The valley below was not just home to eagles, but also to many other birds and animals. Arion, however, had little interaction with them. His parents had always cautioned him to stay with his kind and not to mix with the others. They believed that eagles were superior and that association with different species could bring danger or dishonor. One bright morning, as Arion was preparing to hunt, he noticed a peculiar sight. A young eagle, smaller and with feathers more of a dull brown, was struggling to land on the edge of the cliff. It was clear this bird was not from their cliff but from a distant region. Exhausted and hungry, the young eagle, named Elyra, collapsed near the nest. Arion approached with caution. "Who are you, and what brings you here?" he demanded, his voice tinged with suspicion. "I am Elyra," the young eagle replied weakly. "I come from the far northern mountains. A storm destroyed our nesting area, and I got separated from my family. I have been searching for a safe place to rest." Arion's initial reaction was to chase her away. The teachings of his parents echoed in his mind, warning him against mingling with outsiders. Yet, seeing Elyra's weakened state stirred something in him, a feeling of compassion that he had seldom acknowledged. Hesitating, he decided to let her stay, at least for a while, until she regained her strength. Over the next few days, Elyra began to recover, thanks to Arion's reluctant hospitality. During this time, she shared stories of her homeland and the diverse creatures that inhabited it. Unlike Arion, Elyra had grown up with a more inclusive view of the world, having been raised among various species in the northern mountains. Her stories intrigued Arion, though he tried to hide his interest. One afternoon, Elyra suggested they take a flight over the valley to see the different inhabitants and understand the world beyond the cliff. Arion was hesitant, but finally agreed, curious to see what Elyra found so fascinating. As they soared over the valley, Arion saw things he had never paid attention to before. They flew over the dense forests where songbirds of every color flitted between the trees, their melodies blending into a harmonious chorus. They glided above meadows, where herds of deer grazed peacefully alongside rabbits and foxes. By the river, cranes and herons fished for their meals, while beavers worked diligently on their dams. Elyra pointed out each species, explaining their roles in the ecosystem. See the beavers? They create habitats for many other animals by building dams, and the songbirds help spread seeds, allowing new plants to grow. Everyone has a place and a purpose here. Arion began to see the valley in a new light. The interdependence of the creatures, their cooperation, and the harmony that existed among them was something he had never appreciated before. He realized that his parents' teachings might have been rooted in fear rather than wisdom. Despite his newfound appreciation for the valley's diversity, Arion struggled with deep-seated prejudices. One day, while hunting, he encountered a group of crows scavenging on a carcass. His instinctive reaction was one of disdain. Crows, he had been taught, were scavengers and tricksters, not worthy of an eagle's respect. Arion swooped down, intending to claim the carcass for himself. But before he could chase them away, one of the crows, a particularly bold one named Corvus, spoke up. "Why do you look at us with such contempt, Eagle? We all need to eat, and there is plenty here for everyone." Arion was taken aback by the crow's audacity. "Eagles are hunters, not scavengers," he retorted. Corvus remained unfazed. "Perhaps, but that does not make us any less important. We clean up the valley, ensuring it does not become overrun with decay. Every creature has a role." Arion hesitated, realizing that Corvus's words echoed Elyra's teachings. Reluctantly, he allowed the crows to continue their meal and took what he needed without further conflict. This encounter left him troubled. His ingrained beliefs were being challenged, and he found himself questioning the validity of his prejudices. Returning to the nest, Arion shared his experience with Elyra. She listened patiently, offering her perspective. Understanding others and their roles can help us appreciate the balance of nature. Prejudice only blinds us to the strengths and contributions of others. Arion nodded, though he remained conflicted. Changing one's beliefs, especially those instilled from a young age, was not easy. But Elyra's words and the crow's boldness lingered in his mind, slowly chipping away at his resistance. One evening, dark clouds began to gather over the valley, heralding an approaching storm. The animals of the valley sensed the danger and began to seek shelter. Arion and Elyra fortified their nest, preparing for the worst. As the storm raged, the winds grew fierce, and rain fell in torrents. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the valley in brief, blinding flashes. Amid the chaos, Arion spotted a small bird struggling against the wind, unable to find shelter. It was a sparrow, tiny and fragile, and in grave danger of being swept away. Arion's instinct was to ignore the sparrow and focus on his own safety, but Elyra's influence had softened his heart. With a determined cry, he launched himself into the storm, battling the fierce winds to reach the struggling bird. "Grab onto my talons!" Arion shouted over the howling wind. The sparrow, terrified but desperate, did as instructed. With great effort, Arion carried the sparrow back to the nest, where Elyra helped them inside. The sparrow, shivering and drenched, looked up at Arion with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. "My name is Sarah. You saved my life." As the storm continued to rage outside, the three birds huddled together for warmth and safety. In that moment, Arion realized that compassion and solidarity transcended species. The barriers of prejudice that had once seemed so insurmountable now appeared trivial and unfounded. When the storm finally passed, the valley was bathed in the soft light of dawn. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of rain and earth. Arion stood at the edge of the cliff, looking out over the valley with new eyes. The experiences of the past weeks had transformed him, opening his heart and mind to the richness of the world around him. Elyra, Sarah, and even Corvus had shown him the value of diversity and the importance of each creature's role in the ecosystem. Arion understood that true strength lay not in isolation and superiority, but in unity and mutual respect. Word of Arion's actions spread through the valley. The eagle who once kept to himself, distant and aloof, had changed. Other animals began to approach the cliff, seeking to learn from Arion and share their knowledge. Arion welcomed them, eager to build a community based on understanding and cooperation. In time, the cliff became a symbol of unity in the valley. Eagles, songbirds, crows, and even ground animals visited regularly, exchanging stories and wisdom. The harmony that Elyra had spoken of was now a living reality, a testament to the power of overcoming prejudice. Arion looked at Elyra, who had become not just a friend, but a guiding light in his journey of transformation. "Thank you, Elyra," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "You showed me a world I was too blind to see." Elyra smiled. "The world is full of wonders, Arion, if we only open our hearts to them." As the sun rose higher, casting its golden light over the valley, Arion spread his wings. Together with Elyra and the newfound friends from all corners of the valley, he soared into the sky. The journey of acceptance and understanding had only just begun, and Arion was ready to embrace it with open wings and an open heart.